Leaves are almost falling, pumpkin spice is already starting to call my name, and my craft table is full of cozy fabrics. Today I am going to show you how to take these and make easy, inexpensive fall home decor that will cozy up any space. You're watching Whiskey and Whit. My name is Whitney, and a huge thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. Also, a huge thank you and welcome back to my Whiskey Craft Buddies who are here each and every week to DIY with me. If you like what you see today, be sure to hit subscribe and make sure you're on my email list so you can get all the free files and be updated every time I post a new video. We're going to kick it off with addressing the question, where do you buy fabric in store now, especially with Joann closing? Well, some Michaels stores have it. Hobby Lobby and Walmart are the places around me that have fabric available in store. I have also recently discovered local quilt shops. I've been sleeping on them, and honestly, they are awesome. The fabric's a little bit more expensive, but the prints are amazing, so check that out. And then also be sure to check out the remnant sections of stores that have bolts of fabric that are cut, because you can find some great options for cheaper prices, and you don't even have to worry about somebody having to cut it for you. Now for this first project, I grabbed a deep red color as well as a green color. I ended up buying a half yard of this, and I didn't use all of it, so you don't even need that much. You could do a quarter yard, and I cut out some 10-inch squares approximately. They don't have to be exact. Then I grabbed a toilet paper roll, and I cut the top third off. We're going to stuff the center with whatever stuffing you have. Polyfill, tissue, packing stuff, whatever you have on hand. We're going to make this really affordable, and we're going to take our stuffing and shove it in towards the top as we work our way around tucking this into the toilet paper roll. You're going to have to pull and tug a little bit to kind of get the shape that you want, but once you make it all the way around, it's going to start to resemble an apple. Then we're going to cut out some leaves. I'm just cutting out a traditional leaf shape, gluing the bottom together with some hot glue, and then I'm going to fold the leaf back to give it some dimension. Stick those in the center, as well as a cinnamon stick, or you could use a twig from your yard if you don't have cinnamon sticks. I just love the smell of these, and I wanted to work them in because it feels like fall. And then I finish it off with a little bit of raffia. I made a bunch of these, and they are so cute. They are perfect bowl filler. They would be great for tiered trays or little setups. And they're so fun and festive. You could even do bright colors if you wish as well. So many options, such a fun project. And if you could find these colors at Dollar Tree, you could even make it with Dollar Tree fabric. For this next one, you're going to want to grab some fabrics for the season. So this is not just a fall project. You could do this for any season. I ended up grabbing this orange from Hobby Lobby, and then I got a blue and white check from Michaels online. Now you're going to need some sort of base to add your fabric to, so whether that be a clearance sign, Hobby Lobby has a ton on sale right now, Michaels does too, or shop your house like I did, and I ended up taking these signs and making them over and saving them from the donate pile. This sign I wanted to repurpose because I made another one with our family of 4 picture, so I took that off. Then it's as simple as measuring your fabric, and if it's going to show through, just add a coat of paint underneath, and adding your fabric with some Mod Podge. I trimmed it, cut it down, and then did the hinge method with the Mod Podge. So I just flipped up one side because it's a lot easier to do section by section instead of trying to get this whole piece of fabric to sit flat right where it needs to go. So once you get it on there, take your hands, smooth out any of the wrinkles, and then just let it dry. Then it's good to go. This is great for staging so many different things. You can put them behind signs. You can put them in different setups. It gives texture and dimension without having to paint the sign. You could also use heavy duty double-sided tape if you want to switch out the fabric from season to season so you don't have to store the signs. That would work too. And another Whit tip, if you've got a thick border like this sign did, you can even use it as a tray. I love multi-purpose decor. Even though today's projects, as well as all my other fabric ones here on my channel, can either be hand sewn or don't require any sewing at all, behind the scenes, I've been on a creative journey just for me. I recently got a sewing machine, and I've been using it as a self-care hobby. I knew right where I was gonna go to learn all I needed to know, and that was Craftsy. A huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. You guys know I love Craftsy. It's your online resource for all things creative with over 2,000 classes in everything from quilting, knitting, and crochet to cake decorating, woodworking, gardening, and photography. And they are always adding more. I started with Startup Sewing with Sarah Alm, which taught me everything from setting up my machine to understanding stitches, and even solved one of my biggest struggles, sewing straight and keeping a consistent seam allowance. The washi tape tip from that class was a total game changer to help me. One of my favorite Craftsy perks is that members get access to a ton of free patterns, so I've been downloading those like crazy. I've been finding a ton of joy in sewing. I do it at night after the boys go to bed. And are these perfect? Absolutely not. But am I having fun learning? Absolutely yes. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the video description or scan this QR code will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. That's valid for new members only. You heard me right, only $1.49. That is less than one pattern or even your morning cup of coffee. So grab the deal and come on over and learn with me on Craftsy.
And while we're on the topic of trying new things, did you know that you can print on fabric? Now, I have not done this before because I literally thought I was going to jam my printer, but let me show you what I found out. I used these pre-cut yardages from Hobby Lobby. You can find light fabric like this anywhere, but I wanted something that looked kind of vintagey, but also was 100% cotton and not burlap so that it wouldn't get stuck in my printer. So I took some cardstock, I cut some fabric down to the size of the cardstock, and then I sprayed this Gorilla Glue hold like glue on it. Then while that glue was setting up, I gave it a couple minutes, I pressed the wrinkles out, and then I added my fabric to the paper. Now the key here is making sure that the fabric is not going over the edge of the paper, so trim it if that's the case, because your paper is going to act as a carrier sheet. Also, if you have a rear feeding tray, do that. But it worked out so good. I love these. I ended up printing them in the size that I wanted on one side of the paper, and then I was able to work quickly and then just peel it right off the paper. Also, with this adhesive, I was able to get 2 times around so I could restick a second piece of fabric. It's just that rear feeder I think is key so it doesn't have to loop around. But where has this been my whole life? Like, this is so much easier than I thought it was going to be, and I was so happy with how these turned out. I also decided to try to do a bigger pumpkin seed bag, and that printed really nice too. So these, everything minus the Pleasant Pumpkin Farm, are ones that I made. I got that from Etsy because I saw the exact same file on inspiration for these that I saw at a market last year. And so I wanted the exact artwork, so I'll link that for Etsy, but the rest are mine in my free file library. And I cut 1 inch off the top and bottom and about 3/4 inch on the side with it folded in half. Then I trimmed the edges on the big one. We're going to go around with the right sides facing together. We're going to create a tube essentially. And then for the big one, I am going to have to do it on either side because I could not print a piece of paper big enough to wrap around to make like the seed bag or the seed packet. Once they cooled, I'm going to flip them right side out and do some more glue on the bottom. The reason I did one side inside out and then these tops and bottoms on the outside is because we're going to fray them to get them to look kind of vintagey to go with that primitive vibe, but you could seam all of it if you want. You could sew this as well. Totally up to you. I just want to appeal to as many folks as we can. We're going to make this accessible to the masses, and glue guns are more prevalent than sewing machines. So do with what you have. That's what we're doing. Then when I glue it and trim it, I'm going to use my hand like this, just kind of like you're like messing up the kid's hair. And then you're going to pull some of these strings to distress it. Then my last step is I got some of this distress ink. I saw my friend Tracy over at Country Charm by Tracy use this, and I thought it was so fun. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm winging it, but it really gave these like a weathered look, and I love it. I did that to all of them, and then I followed a similar process for my bigger bag. I just glued the bottom, stuffed it, glued the top, and I was just dealing with 2 seams on either side. And if any seams pop, just fix them. And then these were good to go. I am obsessed. I am definitely making some of these for Christmas and beyond. And I've got plenty because that $3.99 pack of fabric, I don't think I even used a half a yard to make all of these. So this is such an inexpensive project, and I'm pretty sure that spray is not very expensive either, like $10, and I only used a couple spritzes so I can use it on something else. But I love these so much. I was so excited to share these with you guys, so I hope you love them as much as I do. This means you can also do photos on there, so many different options. So if you want everything minus the middle pumpkin seed one, you can find that over in my free file library. Those other ones are from Etsy. And I also made these fun ones for Finn and Henry. These are for the boys. I can't wait to let them play with them. Finn wanted to take his while I was getting the stage shot, so I think that's a mom win. Up next, you're going to want about a yard of fabric in a fall color that matches your decor. I'm going with this orange polka dot, but you could use any color that works for you. I'm going to cut 3 different pieces of fabric, one at 18 inches by 35 inches, another one at 44 inches by 16 inches, and then a third piece at 6 inches by 2 inches. So once you get all those cut, then we are ready to start. Now on my piece that is 18 by 35, I'm going to add some fusible interfacing. This is optional, but I like it because it is going to help make our project a little stiffer. So all you do is put the side with the dots, or the side that looks shiny with adhesive, down on the back side of your fabric. You're going to press it down. It doesn't take very long at all. And then once that's on there, it's going to stiffen up your fabric. So we're going to get that on there. I had to kind of piecemeal it a little bit, but that worked fine. You're not going to see it. And then we are going to glue a seam. Now here is something where if you do sew or want to hand sew it, you could do that as well. The process is going to be the same, but we're going to be using Gorilla Glue hot glue that works for fabric. If you want this to last, definitely make sure you are using that. That is going to help make everything last. So we're going to glue this seam, put that to the side. Then we are going to take our other piece. This doesn't have to be, this one doesn't need any interfacing. We're going to fold that again, right sides together, and glue down that seam as well. Now before we do that, we are going to fold and then fold again when it's hot dog style, and we're going to dovetail the ends. You are going to put the open side away from you and cut at a 45-degree angle, and do that on either end. Then when you're back to it just being flat, you know, one hot dog style, glue around the outside and leave yourself an opening. Then that way you could turn it right side out. You need it to be about as big as your hand. Then once both of those pieces have cooled, you are going to flip your tube inside out, and then you're going to fold it in half and glue those ends, put that to the side. Then we are going to take the opening from our longer piece and glue that shut. So you've got one big long tube. Then we're going to make that seam from our folded piece, the first one we glued. We're going to fold that into a bow shape, and we're going to wrap that with some jute twine. Then we're going to take our longer piece, and that is going to be the tails of our bow. Get that to lay kind of where you want it, tie it up, and then we're going to glue down, kind of folding in like half and then to the center, that 6 by 2 inch piece. So then that way we can wrap that around the jute twine. I glued that to the center, and then my last step was to just put some jute twine through the back, so then that way I could hang it on a door or a wreath. I love this oversized bow. It is the perfect addition to my fall decor. Something to keep in mind, if you have a door that gets hot with the sun, you're not going to want to put hot glue on there, so I would recommend hand stitching or using a sewing machine, or do what I'm going to do and have it be on an inside door of your house. This is perfect. I'm going to be making these for Christmas. I also think I might want to make one either to represent our school or do one in Chicago Bears colors. Fingers crossed that they have a decent season this year. We'll see. This next one is actually a DIY dupe. I found these when I was looking for ideas for my upcoming fall dupes video, and I loved them so much I had to make them early. So I created this template for myself, and I'll share it with you over in my free file library for these witches boots. And then I folded my fabric twice to have 4 pieces, so I only had to cut it out once, but you could cut them as many times as you want. I used some binder clips to keep everything together. You could also pin it. And then once all 4 of those were cut, I cut about a 6-inch strip the full length of my half yard of fabric. So it ended up being longer than I needed. For this, I kind of just eyeballed it for the length of the space. Then I ironed out all the wrinkles, which I should have done before I cut my boots. So I ironed out the wrinkles, and then I fixed all my jagged edges. Then we are going to create that strip. So we are going to fold our fabric in on itself kind of in thirds here. And I'm just using hot glue, again, widely accessible, but you could sew this or you could use ribbon. Same thing. I'm going to take some of that extra fabric, glue it into the center like this, and then I'm going to fold it like we did for the bow for the last project. I'm going to wrap the center with some raffia, and then with the tails, I'm going to attach the bow to my strips that are going to essentially be the witch legs. Then it's time to grab some black embroidery floss, and I tied a knot at the end, and then I'm only going to go through one of the pieces first. So then that way the knot is going to be on the inside. Then when you loop it around, we're going to catch or hook that loop of thread, and then it is going to create a blanket stitch. On the next project, I will show you a much clearer explanation. I stuffed both boots, and then I found these cute little buttons. Now I wish I would have remembered that the inspo had 2 on each shoe, and I didn't like how these 2 went together. I just got options, and so I ended up doing one. I just sewed it on. It's really simple. I just put the thread through the holes and hooked it on, and then tied a knot. Then to hook my witch's boot to the little leg piece, I just stuck it in the center. I measured kind of where I wanted it to hang, trimmed it as needed, and then I used my thread again, and I just did a running stitch across and back to hook everything on there. These shoes are not super heavy, so it's not like you need anything heavy duty, but that is going to keep it all in place. Then I thought my bow needed a little something, so I grabbed this tag from my stash. There's glitter on it, so you know how long I've had it. It was before I lost my affinity for glitter. I think I bought these for bridesmaids proposal boxes in 2016, so it's time I got it out and used it. I stamped Boo on there and then used that Distress ink that I used earlier on the bags just to kind of make it look like it matched this primitive vibe. Then I needed to remove some of the little polyfill pieces. I'm still struggling with that, so if you have tips on how to get it, I need to like mess with it because you can see that it's fuzzy. But overall, I think these look very similar. The inspiration was $56, and I made these probably all in, I'd say, back of the napkin math, under 12 bucks. So I'm super happy with that. I think they're so cute. They can hang from wreaths, they can hang from drawers, and I just absolutely love them. For this next one, we are going to head to the felt aisle because so many of you always ask where my staging garlands are from, and 9 times out of 10, they're from Hobby Lobby, TJ Maxx, or at home. Well, this one I made. So here's another template that I will provide you so you can cut it out. You can also use these as SVGs or upload them as PNGs to cut on your Cricut if you want to cut the felt that way. But I, again, by hand so that we can include as many folks as we can in the crafting process. So use the tools you have. We're going to cut these out double, so then you've got 2 pieces, and then we're going to blanket stitch around the outside. So again, take your embroidery floss with a knot at the end, hide your knot on the inside, and then we're going to do 1 loop around, basically right where that knot is. Then on your next loop, we're going to loop around, and you're going to catch that thread loop before it gets pulled through so that you can create the blanket stitch. It's going to kind of give an outline to your felt shape, and it's going to look really pretty. Now the first one you do, it might take you a second to think about, okay, loop, I gotta grab it. But once you do it a couple times, you can start cranking these out. I was able to make this whole thing in about an hour. So it's a great thing to do while you're watching like a Netflix show or any other show that you like to watch. Also, if you've got good streaming recommendations for the fall, leave them down below in the comments. I love to know what people are liking on streaming services so I can check it out. So you're going to stitch around about a little less than 3/4 of the way. You're going to add some stuffing. Again, you can use tissues, you could use polyfill, you can use cotton balls, whatever you've got to make it fluffy. And then you're going to finish stitching around the outside. I also took a little piece of brown felt when I got to the top and stitched that on in the blanket stitch, but that's optional. You can just go with the one color if the multiple colors freak you out. Then for some of the other ones, I added some embroidery stitches that I actually learned from classes on Craftsy. So definitely if you're a Craftsy member, I know so many of you are, you can definitely check out the Startup Hand Embroidery. That is really helpful. I reference that all the time, but I'm going to use some French knots here by looping the black around my needle, and that is going to help me make 2 eyes for my little ghostie. Now I'm doing this on 1 piece of felt, so then that way all of the stitches are going to be hidden inside when you do the 2 pieces. If you're doing a multicolored thing, cut out like this candy corn, cut out the orange, then trim your template, cut out the yellow, trim your template, and then cut out the white. We're going to tack stitch the yellow to the orange. I actually don't know if that's a stitch. I call it a tack stitch, but I might have made that up. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, attach that, and then I screwed up so bad that it was too big, so I trimmed it and we moved on. You know, that's the beauty of DIY. Then I'm going to tack on that white piece, and then we're going to go around the entire thing with the orange, do the stuffing. And also throughout this process, I was very happy to have this little stick that comes in the polyfill container. So whether it's a chopstick, a dowel rod, whatever, keep it on hand because it's going to be helpful. Then here are all the little figurines that I made from that template you can find over on my blog. And then I got this garland at Home for $7.99. That's way cheaper than you're going to be able to buy felt balls on their own. And I'm only going to need about half of this garland. I'm going to pick a pattern that I like, and I'm going to use a dowel needle, DOLL, or upholstery needle. And I like it for garlands because then you can just pop it right through and do whatever you feel as far as the colors. The only thing I'm trying to do is not put like a lot of orange together or a lot of black together so you have a color pop. I ended up redoing it like 2 to 3 times, but here's what I decided on with 2 in between each icon. And I am so happy with this. This is going to be so nice to stage my Halloween projects. And it is just so much fun. It is definitely a really nice, joy-filled crafting experience. It's pretty easy. It does take a little time, but this is definitely something that I will keep for years to come. And now when I share them in videos and you guys ask if I made it and I have a tutorial, bada boom, bada bang, here's the tutorial. And I want to see your guys' felt garland, so if you make them, always be sure to share it along with any other project with me on social media. I'm Whiskey and Whit everywhere, or you can email them to hello@whiskeyandwhit.com if you don't do social media sharing. I would love to see what you're making.
That's going to do it for this video. I hope you loved all of these fabric ideas. Be sure to let me know, as always, down in the comments your favorite project, and let me know which one of these you are going to be making for the fall season. I love hearing from you guys. I so enjoy going through comments and chatting with you all. And while you're down there, be sure to check out more about today's sponsor, Craftsy. I have talked about them so much. They are one of my longest standing brand partners because I truly love Craftsy. I've learned so much from them. I have to learn so then I can teach you guys new things, and I love Craftsy. So definitely act fast. The first 1,000 of you to use the link or scan this QR code will get a year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. Such a deal. Such a deal. I would pay that for one class. Huge thank you to them for partnering with me and supporting Whiskey and Whit. A huge thank you to you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. And one more thing, be sure to subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any future Whiskey and Whit content. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!